Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
Surrounded by them.
idiots.
Welcome, everybody. Today's guest has earned her bachelor's degree of science and marketing and retail management at Syracuse University. She currently sits as the director of creative strategy at REVOLT TV. She's a marketing creative with over a decade of experience in developing digital media projects, branded marketing campaigns, and immersive experiences for Fortune 500 companies in entertainment, art, fashion, beauty, all the above. A lot of stuff in a very short time. We're talking about Mrs. Ghislane León.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm feeling great. Happy to be here. Happy to catch up.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine. So you've done a lot of stuff. I've met you around LA running around. I can't remember exactly where we met, but I remember it was at some event, something in that
I
space.
definitely saw you during my New York days, and I feel like I reconnected with you my first BET Awards weekend here,
Okay. And what year was that?
2022.
That one. But I'm trying to remember where in New York. That's pretty crazy.
I think it's a mystery for the both of us.
That's wild. Because I remember meeting you out here. That in 2022 sounds right, but New York, that's very possible. But you've done a ton of stuff in the space in a very short amount of time, and so I just want to know, like, what's your story? How did you get started? I know you grew up in
Harlem,
New York. Some greats come from Harlem.
Yes.
So what's your story? How did you get started, or what led you into your industry? What was your?
So I was a super creative kid. I was an arts and theater kid, and so
Okay.
I was performing at school plays, dancing, playing instruments. I played percussion in my elementary school's rhythm band, specifically the congas.
Okay.
So I was been really musically inclined most of my life. And so between dancing, acting, singing, and then getting to high school and taking all that creativity and thinking about college and a career, it's like, well, I love artistry. I'm not going to be Shakira. I'm not going to be Rihanna
Right.
or J-Lo. But maybe I could work aside by them. And maybe I could work with the brands and the people that create the content with them.
Right.
And so my mom at the time is working at the Shoreham Hotel in the Upper West Side. My mom is like a housekeeper. I come from blue collar,
Gotcha.
working family, first generation American. And eventually my mom gets a job as a sitter for an HBO executive. And I was like, yo, Ma, I need to meet your boss.
That's funny.
And mom was like, why? Why do you? I'm like, because she works in media, and I want to understand a little bit about, what she does and like how I can help her.
Right.
So I become her intern like the summer of my 16th birthday. And that's the same summer when 50 Cent dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, the movie.
That
was
incredible.
distributed and created by HBO. And so I was a little intern, helping them piece together decks, putting together gift bags. I was underage, so I wasn't going to no premiere party.
Damn, that's cool though.
But I helped as
a
a 16-year-old that got visibility into what the marketing event side of entertainment was. And so at 16, I said, I'm going to be entertainment media boss.
That's crazy. So were your parents, even when you were like younger, growing up, were your parents really, did they like that you were into the arts, or were they kind of like, maybe you should did they want you to do something else? Or?
Of course. They were like, all the time.
Okay, so but like, how some parents won't even put their kids in like the programs and stuff. They're like, no.
Being child of like immigrant parents is a super different experience because
Right.
There's the language barrier, there's the cultural barrier. Like, while there's still, my parents are both American citizens, but they're not Americans in the mind per se all the time.
Right, I feel you.
And so, growing up, I think they were worried about making sure that I was healthy, that I had, clothes, and that I was in the environment to inspire me.
Essentials,
yeah. Right? So they made sure that I was exposed to the parts of New York City, like the Upper West Side. Like, my parents would go shopping in the Upper West Side on the weekends and to not stay in Harlem. And so I realized that they themselves realized, like, how could they have a different lifestyle separate from our own Harlem. And so they didn't really support me on the education piece. Weren't really capable to do that.
I feel you.
They knew that they wanted me to go to college. And so going away was non-negotiable. Before me, no one in my family had gone away to college because we're still first generation Americans.
Of course, yeah.
So some of my cousins had wanted to go away that were older and they weren't allowed to. So when it came and they weren't allowed to, and their parents just weren't happy with how, their careers, evolved since they stayed in New York. And so when it came to me, they were like, we're going to trust Ghislaine because she seems to have a vision for what she wants to do. So we're going to trust her and let her leave. And so, with that said, I've kind of had to always seek mentors in different departments of my life to help guide my vision and my dream, because no one in my family has been in this space or is a creative. Not that not creative, my family's super creative, but in the sense of having a creative career is very different. Having a creative career from having a creative hobby.
Exactly. No, it's a very different thought process, because even the things that are important to somebody who has a creative career are very different than somebody who's just like, oh, this is my side thing I do for fun. And it's a different, the same way they go to work. But sometimes it costs that extra flight to be somewhere you need to be, or it costs that extra, but you don't always see that if you don't work in that in that space.
But they supported me. My mom got me, I'll never forget, my 13th birthday.
Bring that
my
just
first
a little
laptop.
closer. Just a little closer. Yeah.
I was always a digital kid. Like I was always at the library and reading and writing. And so I had my first laptop at 13. I was like a MySpace coder. So like my page was like crazy.
You had the fallen letters and shit. Yeah,
listen, I had the big blown out picture. I would switch it out all the time. Like MySpace was like my first like experience, and then Dreamweaver into like coding and creating.
I heard of Dreamweaver. I never was on Dreamweaver though. What was the?
It was a early like web development site before Wix, before WordPress, before Squarespace. You were able to design websites. So I was at 16 designing sites with clouds, designing worlds.
Right. Damn, that's cool. And then you went to Syracuse.
Yeah. So then, in knowing that I wanted to work in media and work in the creative side of things, or marketing, business, advertising side of things, I had to pick a school where I knew I was going to get the best education, the best experience, and the best network.
Facts. And you were close to home, like not too far from home where it was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was too attached to my family. Because I already knew I wanted to live in California as a kid. I was too attached to my family to leave across country because I knew they wouldn't be able to get on a plane and see me all the time. So I chose to stay in New York. And so since I went to public school, I'm a public school kid, I knew that I was smart enough to get into a private school. And I told my parents, I said, I'm going to get into a private school because that's what I want. I want to go to Syracuse. People were like, oh, that's too expensive for your daughter to go there. I don't know if that's the right place. And I have friends at school were like, oh, well, we didn't get in. A bunch of people who had better grades than you didn't get in last year. So, good luck, Ghislaine. And sure enough, I love when someone says that something isn't for me.
Right.
And I can prove to them, and the universe can show me that it actually is for me. Because you certain things you just know intuitively that's right for you, that some people will question or... And also, otherwise, try to discourage you.
Yeah, they're looking at it one-sided too, though, right? Like someone who's saying that is probably only looking GPA, nothing else.
Exactly.
They're not looking at all the extracurriculars you're doing, the shit you were doing at HBO. They probably don't even fucking know about that. It's like it's those kinds of things though, where you realize
full package.
Yeah, you can only take people with a grain of salt because they only see what they see, and they don't see the work behind the scenes either. So it's, we could say whatever we want. I don't know what your essay sounded like. That changes things, you know? And it's, And people are haters too. If I can't do it, you can't do it.
Right.
That's what because otherwise, I'm faulty. And no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty funny.
So, I took one on and started my, academia journey at Syracuse University. An amazing time. Studied abroad in Madrid, so that was super interesting.
And you spoke Spanish.
Sí.
So that's what I'm saying. That's great.
Sí, pero mi español es bastante diferente al español que se habla en España.
It's different and some about it's in Spain. Oh, the Spanish they speak in Spain is different.
because they speak Catalan.
What's that?
Catalan is just like the native Spanish.
Oh, okay.
You know,
And how much of an adjustment is that?
Dominican Spanish is a whole nother world.
Damn. So you could really go out there as someone like a Mexican who just speaks Spanish in Mexico. You could go out there and be
Well, I mean, we'll
lost or
understand
just-
each other.
Okay.
Like, we'll understand each other, but we'll have to pause because we'll say things differently. Like, I won't understand all of their lingo and vice versa. Like, there's certain
Okay.
Mexican expressions that I don't understand. It's the same way they won't understand Dominican expressions. you know?
Okay. So
Most people know the coño. Like,
yeah, exactly.
the
right.
world knows what coño means,
El
but
puta.
right, they don't know other
Yeah,
things, you know.
That's about it.
But,
Damn, that's crazy. And my parents always wanted me to learn Spanish. Because my name's Maestro, they're like, hey, you should. I just haven't. I took Spanish when I was younger. I know like the basics. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. ¿Y tú? Muy bien. Gracias. And I was
Dominican will be like, ¿y qué lo que?
¿Qué lo que?
Dámelo.
I've heard that. I went to DR March or May of last year.
What parts?
I went to name the two biggest cities.
Like for tourists?
I went to Punta
Cana.
Cana. Yeah. And it was
Gorgeous.
cool. I mean, I just chilled on the resort mostly. I did go ride RVs and shit.
Okay.
That was incredible. Yeah, beach, chilled, but it's crazy when you go out there and you see how just like any like country abroad, a lot of times the resorts are beautiful. And then you drive off to go see other shit and you're just like, oh wow, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
it's wild. And it's so close.
It's usually,
Yeah. It's like, well, not only that, I'm saying it's like it's so close, like East Coast to. I didn't realize it seems like DR is the Mexico for people who live on the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah,
That makes-
well, in a sense of that's their. I want to go to a beach and
It's
somewhere
a
that's
quick,
not America.
yeah. It's, at least from New York City, about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
From Miami, where we have another cluster of Dominicans, is
Right.
also maybe like an hour and a half. It's
See, and
quick.
it's perfect.
It's
Everybody
quick,
at the resort.
affordable.
Everybody at the resort was from either New York, Baltimore, Virginia, like they all East or Florida, all East Coast, and I was like, oh damn, okay.
To
I
get
get
there
it.
now, I have to have a stop because there's no direct flights from LA.
I
to
stopped
DR.
in New York. Yeah, I was like, damn, it's a good country though. The food though, no, I probably didn't have proper Dominican
I'm sure. I'm like,
But
don't
no, but-
disrespect our food.
no,
like that
no.
probably resort
food.
food.
That's what I'm
was
saying. No,
trash.
the resort I was at, that food. That's what I'm saying.
I
Not
hate resort
Dominican
food.
food. No, it was awful.
I tried not to, but
Yeah, I was disappointed. I was like, this isn't it.
in weddings I don't have a choice when I travel alone. Or on my,
You said weddings.
in weddings I don't have a choice to
Oh,
do
good
the
point.
to
Right,
do the
right.
buffet and the hotel food because I'm paying for you have to pay.
Right.
But I typically just research the best restaurants and.
Okay.
So that
weddings
makes me
abroad.
I need to make sure you have a good Dominican food experience. Like I can't let
yeah.
you say that our food
No,
is
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying where I was. Not saying that. No. Don't get me canceled by all the Dominicans in the world. No, yeah, what I had when I was like on the resort, the food, I was just like, oh no, this was the resort was nice, but the food was just trash. So it was that pairing was just kind of like, okay, I didn't come to DR for the food. There
and
you
it's
go.
usually not even Dominican food because they cater to the tourists so they have food that's like from a world space perspective.
Right,
so
right. This is our take on, and you're like, yeah, no, I just
safe food that's safe for tourists.
yeah. I was gonna ask you. You said weddings, and I was thinking about that. How do you feel about when? I understand if it's a very close friend or family member, but when people want to invite you to weddings that are abroad, how do you feel about that? I feel like it's a lot.
Destination weddings?
Yeah,
It's definitely a lot.
it's a lot. Like how many people are you trying to invite? I understand the essentials. I understand the parents. They're there for you. Sure. You want me to go to where and stay where? And
But why not? Why not celebrate love?
I might not
and
fuck
make a
with you
trip
like
out of
that.
it.
And then a lot of people might not fuck with you like that. And you're trying to invite a lot of people. And then you also want to do shit a certain way, which then also makes like, hey, maybe I can do it or maybe he can do it, but that motherfucker can't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, it just seems like a lot. Some people do it if you have the friends who you know have the means and you have the means. Sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a lot of fucking fun. It's just like birthday dinners. I always have a thing with birthday dinners. Listen, if you want to go to Mastro's or Steak 48 with all your friends and you all got great jobs, this can be a pleasurable experience. But if you want to go to Steak 48 because it's your birthday and you've never been in a 5-star restaurant with any of the motherfuckers you're about to invite, this is now a problem.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at.
So I will say, I think destination weddings are beautiful. My sister actually just got married.
See, your sister yes.
Maybe 5-6 months ago now in Dominican Republic, which was my last time home. And for us, at least, you know, it was the best choice for family that we have in Dominican Republic to be able to attend, and for, you know, our family in the U.S. to also fly.
Right.
A lot of my sister's closest friends hadn't been to Dominican Republic, so it was a time for them to experience our culture for the first time.
Right.
And so a destination wedding sometimes become about that. It becomes about the culture, about introducing your new family to the culture. So I would, you know, challenge some of that.
That's sensible, though. That's completely sensible.
Yes.
I'm talking about the person who's like, we're doing it in Italy, and no one's Italian.
Lake Como, all of a sudden, I don't know if it was a pandemic juice or what, but everyone wants a wedding in Lake Como. It's like
they must, and they have to get, and
it's because it's trending, right? In a few years, it'll be Portugal. Actually, Portugal is like the new one now, right? Because Lake Como is played out since everyone's gotten married there.
It's hilarious.
But so I do say it will limit who can go to your wedding, because it's a huge financial investment for sure.
Huge, because weddings are already, as I'm sure you know, it's like you could have said you were doing anything in this fucking room. The second you say, "Oh, we're gonna hold a wedding here or a reception," oh wait,
the
price
you need to have $3,000 to $5,000 to go to your friend's destination wedding. That's just starting. That's like
and you're not gonna do shit. That's to go.
That's on a budget.
Yeah.
Because that's on a budget, 3 to 5.
Then you got that friend who plans all the trips, like, we gonna go do this and this, and you just counting the shit, like, what? Huh?
And so, to your point, you really, really, really gotta fuck with someone.
Yeah,
so you want to drop that kind of, you know, money and time, right? Time commitment to celebrate them. But you know, I think that's the beauty of, and you know, money. Yes, but I have such an abundant mindset that if I know if I'm gonna spend that much, like I have a destination wedding next month. Funny enough, in Mexico.
Oh, that's cool. Who's it for?
They're not Mexican at all.
They said, hey, listen. But they know a lot of people in California, right?
They know people in California, New York. And so
if I'm in New York, I'm mad. If I'm in California, I'm like, bet. Okay, I'm pulling up.
But that's where they decided that they wanted to, you know, tie the knot. And so who am I to be like, why are you getting married there? I'm just going to show up and love you. These are some of my longest and dearest of friends. And so I do think about that, like, damn, I need to limit my weddings. I just came back from a bachelorette in Costa Rica. Like, if you have people that are getting married, you better have a budget of like $10,000 for the year for these activities, because you have the bridal showers, the bachelorettes,
baby showers,
the baby. I mean,
Oh boy!
But it's fun and it's great to making memories with people that you love, and so I see beyond, like,
you know. I
but yes, but you gotta love that person.
Yeah, I see,
and want to be into that person's life.
See, there's not enough people I want to do that with, and that's what I'm getting.
Fair.
But the people I would. 100%, like we're saying, 100%. I'm there. Fuck what it calls. Like, this is your day. I gotta be in the. But
I'm going to your wedding. I want to be in your life, and I want to be in your life for the long haul.
Exactly. It's not supposed to be a pop up and hey,
right.
I'm just bringing you some shit because I'm supposed to. Like, nah. Like, if I'm gonna do all this, be here the whole day. Yeah, deal with other people I probably don't want to see. I be on my Larry David shit. I have a very Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, hey, if I like it, it's great. If not, it's like, look, I'll just stay, out the way. So, have you ever planned a wedding?
Not an entire wedding, but I've planned like my sister's bridal shower.
Okay, no, I was just wondering if like those worlds ever intersect as far as like marketing and promotion.
No, not yet. But like now in the workspace that I'm in, this idea of creating content around celebrations, like I feel like Black media is really missing that. Like about big events and big celebrations.
Okay.
Like those big moments.
And positive
right.
moments.
Exactly.
Right.
Like MTV did it. We saw MTV do it with like My Super Sweet 16. And that was a
Oh,
hit.
I see what you're... You know I had one of those.
Yeah. Right. Like where are the Gen Z? Well, not Gen Z. I guess some of them are Gen Zers, but the Gen Alpha that's coming up, right? The 12, 13-year-olds, like
They're
who
called
are
Alpha?
Yeah, that's
There's
the new
nothing
generation
alpha
now.
about them.
I know it's Gen Alpha. I don't even know who comes up with these.
Who's
these
that?
names.
Who's that person?
How do we go from Gen X to Z to we have? I'm a millennial. We went from millennials to Gen Z, then zillennials.
Then what was it? What was the our parents? They were like Gen. We're
I think they're Gen
baby
X.
boomers. Baby boomers.
The baby
was just
boomers are after or before the Gen X.
okay.
The baby boomers are like retired.
Yeah, but long retired.
They're
Yeah. Oh yeah, the baby boomer generation is right after they're 46 through 64.
Mm-hmm.
So before baby boomers was who?
Generation X.
Oh, so that was okay, and then you got to something in
Millennials.
Oh, okay.
Gen Z. Gen Alpha. It's all language to group people.
Yeah.
Group people so that we are able to crunch data and sell data to marketers. And then marketers create advertising and content that targets them.
Kind of like the census. So that's a fun conversation. Being in the marketing space, you started, what year would you say you got your first job in that space?
2011, my first real job.
Okay. And that's a great time too, because it's like Instagram and things are starting, but
Twitter was just taking off.
Yeah, they're nowhere near where they are now.
Twitter had peaked by 2011.
That is true.
Like Black Twitter had established itself. And Instagram was established. We had Periscope at the time.
Periscope, Vine.
Yes, Vine as well. Vine was, original TikTok. It was quick, short form.
100%.
Same type of editing.
And remember Musical.ly?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Musical.ly just flipped into TikTok.
Yeah.
So my question is, how have your marketing strategies changed from, or what you've seen from 2011 and what people were going after, like, oh, this is how we get eyes, to now? Like the biggest changes, That's
a great question. I think we've gotten a lot more impactful and intentional.
Okay. Yeah.
The marketing space, I would say, like brands, whether they're publishers or brands are more focused on creating some type of impact. And because of that, there's intentionality behind campaigns. So now campaigns are focused on creating some type of solution and give back to communities as opposed to just sharing stories.
Right.
Well,
that's because also now we can see the numbers.
Yeah. Thank God that New York has the paid transparency.
What's that?
New York State has a law now that open roles have to state their salary on the descriptions.
Oh, right. Okay, I tell my parents
changer.
I tell my parents this all the time. So one of the biggest finesses in all things, I won't get into every sector of this, but as we know, all things, is you don't want your left hand to know what your right hand is doing. And that's how they play a lot of things. That's how you keep people quiet about things. That's how we don't talk about this, we don't talk about that. Right. So when they were growing up, and I realized this beginning of me growing up, but it changed towards Gen Alpha. People didn't talk about money. You didn't. That was disrespectful. That's
inappropriate.
What?
You leave that conversation at home.
Right.
You don't make people feel uncomfortable.
And you don't
keep
do
that to yourself.
Because
you keep discretion.
We don't want people knowing that the guy next to you makes $40,000 more. So he doesn't talk about it. You don't talk about it. And y'all motherfuckers see each other on the train every day going to work.
And that is why we have Latina Equal Pay Day and Black Women Equal Pay Day, because we're at the lowest of the totem pole. It's a systematic issue, but it's also a cultural issue because we were literally taught as a culture that you don't talk about those things.
Right.
growing up, my family, we didn't speak about salaries, like,
Mm-hmm.
at all. At all. Like, I didn't even know what their salaries were.
No, same.
As an adult, I understood what my parents were probably making less than $30,000 a year and were able to raise 2 girls in Harlem. You know, and we were fly. I'm still fly. Like, we were fly.
Yeah.
My parents made sure that we were fly, as Dominicans were into the visuals, you
Right.
know.
I mean, and that's one thing I will say as minorities as a whole.
Yeah.
We are individual, but I also have noticed.
But we're expressive. It's the visuals, but we're also expressive.
and our visuals mean something. And
They mean something to us. It's personal.
yeah, exactly. And I've noticed that when we do go into different spaces, a lot of times too, that is our one way of. It's like, as a black man, you know, well, anywhere you go, you got to make sure you look clean and you got a nice haircut. It's like a thing, but it's also because we know you're already probably going to start a little bit behind the 8 ball. So these are just things you should just have done so that regardless of how the person perceiving you thinks, well, he got himself together. And that's why I think a lot of our visuals come too, because let's be real, if you can't buy, you don't have the resources for properties, and you don't have the resources for watches, and you don't have the resources for all the other little games people play, cars, well, then at least what's on my person is going to be A1 top tier, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because that's, you know, thinking about assets and wealth creation, it's all I think about now. And again, these are conversations we just didn't have as kids. And there was financial literacy was not part of my upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all had I had a debit account and a bank account, but a bank account is not financial. Helping kids open bank accounts. Let me tell you, the amount of watered down, shitty marketing that these banks would do to get kids to open up accounts, but then there was nothing behind it.
No
It's
interest
like,
for
come
real,
on. But we didn't know what we didn't know.
It was, no, when you say this now, I hadn't had this thought. It was so now that's a
I had all
marketing
the
campaign.
accounts. Yeah.
Oh, you got to go sign them up for their first bank account, and then you teach them how to, you remember the checkbook, teach them how to balance the checkbook. And it's so important. And it's just like, right. So I'm supposed to just, even banks as a whole, now I'm getting into my conspiracy.
Listen, I have $0 in savings account, in the traditional savings account. Unless I'm getting a return, you're not holding my savings, period. And I wish I knew this at 16.
Very intelligent.
Right, and so
it's crazy if you look at certain things just as, there's large institutions now, so we're blinded by that they are what they are. But when you think about square one, and you just think, wait, this is day one. Hey, I just opened the blah, blah, blah bank. So wait, I'm supposed to take all the money from my home and come give it to you. Why I trust you? But at some point, we just stopped asking that.
We stopped asking questions.
Yeah.
We stopped asking questions, and we stopped informing one another about the things, which is why the pandemic was such a pivotal time for us culturally. Because all these people, some people lost jobs and had to figure out what were they good at, or what knowledge do they have, to then become the bloggers, the podcasters, right? Case in point, Rashad Bilal and Troy Millings, right, from Earn Your Leisure.
Okay, right.
It's a podcast that took off during the pandemic because people were seeking information and people were seeking to learn at a fast pace because of what was happening in the world. And so now we have masterclass popping up. Right now we have, the creator economy where you can be there's all kinds of creators, right? Not just the beauty people, not just the beauty talk, but there's career talk, right? There's creators that are literally making a living out of educating people on finance, on personal development. You can, choose your lane, but as a creator, there is a viable. And so I'm happy to see that there's other ways for our community to make a living, but there is still so many things that are systematic, right?
Yeah.
And with that in mind, we have to do our part to take accountability for the time that's gone and what we could do now with the time that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
To educate ourselves, make great decisions, but most importantly, to constantly have our money being invested so that it's growing, right?
100%. I get frustrated with this sometimes because, I know.
It's not fun. Learning finance is not fun.
That's my point.
Which is why we should have started in junior elementary school.
Yes. But that's not the point of school. So
I know.
which is a whole nother bag.
I
which
know.
you could- but that's my
Even school is a business. I went to SU, orange all day.
Right,
But I'm
exactly.
very clear that the university system here is a total business.
Oh, for sure.
We have one of the biggest contracts with ESPN.
I was just gonna say, you went
Like,
to the football games and the
listen.
basketball games and
Yes.
bought the shirts and the hoodies
Yes.
because you got to. But it's like, wait a minute, huh?
Like-
how much you pay? Imagine day one, someone go out there.
Yeah.
All right, pretty cool. So, how much you got to pay the players? That's the best part. Check this out. And I found out, which is even crazier. I don't want to get the stat wrong, but a lot of universities are actually just funded by the government. Like that is where their real capital comes from. Like, I don't want to misquote it, but I had read something about even places like Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. Tuition's not keeping the lights open. I just put it that way. You know, they're getting large grants and large subsidies from whether it's the government or other places, and that is what.
And they also have large endowment funds as well. Like
Right.
large, like millions.
Yeah. Oh, they said that they
Millions.
could let people in for free for the next like 10
Yeah.
years. Yeah, they just
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like the Vatican. So okay, so what you said call to action. Today's marketing campaigns have a lot more call to action, which I have noticed.
They have a lot more, and so content has shifted, and so what has changed throughout the years, and we've seen that as social media has constantly evolved and changed, is that our attention span is different, and so short form content performs better. You know, we saw YouTube develop YouTube Shorts, which sucks. It's probably gonna go away soon, but they released that competing with Instagram and TikTok. And TikTok created Reels, right? Or Instagram created Reels to compete with TikTok. And so that's also shifted. And so it's created an opportunity for more short form branded content.
Right. Now, as someone who works in this space, have you noticed though that, okay, so whenever you have these kinds of shifts, there's positives and there's negatives. Negatives, barrier to entry. The fact that it's a positive, obviously, but then opens floodgates. And sometimes it feels like the things that get through the floodgates, not all of it's going to be quote unquote conventionally in the traditional sense good, right? Some things just hit because they are shocking or because they are. Where do we go from here? Like, if we know short form content does better, we all play, and I'm guilty of it too. What you gotta do, we all play the short content game.
Short form and audio, right? That's why even podcasts.
Right, short form and audio.
The podcast created a whole new revenue stream.
Yes, but where do we go when it's how short form are we gonna go? That's what I wonder sometimes too, because it's like, okay, people like 15-second videos. They like these things. Cool. People like making videos to sounds.
I think up to 3 minutes. Yeah, and that's new.
And that's another thing. But we love making videos to sounds that we have no clue where they come from. So who's making the sounds? Like, there's just so many. I'm like, where is content's future? Like we see even in the film industry.
With TikTok and AI, I mean, there's so many influences. I will say that Asian culture is a big driver in certain trends. In the past few years, has been a big driver in certain digital trends. Like one of those examples, and I don't even know what it's called, but like on TikTok, it's inspired by like the anime culture, but there's like a lot of people who just get online and they start making these sounds like bros and this and and like they're getting paid for interacting and just saying the sound of certain like icons. So like coins go up and things go up on the screen, and it's very interesting to me because that's not native to Black American culture.
Not at all,
or
yeah.
like American Latino culture. That's a culture that we've taken from Asian digital culture and made it our own to create digital characters.
But
That's how
is
I
it
see
not just what the Asian digital culture pushes us? Because their TikTok isn't that. that shit's not happening in China. I mean, obviously there is a market. I'm not saying
For
there
sure.
isn't.
They have, well, TikTok is one platform. They have so many of their own social media platforms that they
WeChats
use
and all
themselves.
this, yeah.
Right, exactly. Like this just happens to be the one that was marketed really well, but intentionally for it to become a global, which, there's like, they're in court right now. Like,
Yeah, they're trying to end it.
so
in
they're trying to
America.
ban TikTok real soon.
Or they're trying to strong arm and own it.
Right.
That's all it is.
But, and
you can't do this here unless you sell it to me. Then you can do this here.
I also think that over time, back to the question on what's different, we've become obsessed with seeing each other, seeing people, right? Seeing ourselves, right? We kind of started that trend with the emergence of reality shows and us being able to get more behind the scenes into people's lives. And so on social media, we're able to get that by going live, by posting reels. But now that's created trends. One of those trends being like get ready with me, being something. Obviously makeup tutorials, obviously all kind nail tutorials, like the DIY, get ready with me, even video gamers who are on YouTube, people are watching them play games.
Yeah.
So there is an obsession with watching others and to learn from others for the most part, learn, emulate. But that's a big shift that I'd say, happened in the last 5-10 years compared to media when I was in high school. Yeah,
because it was about like what I did, not what I'm doing.
Right.
And now we're very voyeuristic. What are you doing?
Yeah. And it's about getting into that person's world. Every person has its own world.
Right. In their own circle at the top of your screen. Boop.
Right.
Pop in, pop out. Boop. World's boring. Next.
Yeah.
Do you think this is healthy?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
The amount of media consumption that we spend, it's so toxic.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. And it's also a distraction. I think if we consumed less media that wasn't adding value to our lives, I think some of us would grow and evolve a lot quicker.
I completely agree.
A lot quicker. But if you're on your couch, Netflixing and chilling the whole weekend, but you haven't read an article, but you haven't seen a documentary, or you... Not my children.
And hell no.
Not my children.
Listen, I'm gonna possibly be one of those no iPad dads.
Absolutely.
And I only say possibly because I'm giving time to how the world will literally change before I have a child. But I do know I'm no, you're not about to sit here on your screen and it will take some accountability on my part being oh shit, I'm at this restaurant. I have to just actively parent. Yes, it will. But I'm even saying publicly, I will take that over, it's the same as plopping your kid in front of the TV back in the day. Yeah. Best case scenario, you find a way where your kid can watch something, but it's educational. But I still don't, they pollute all that stuff with just other messaging. And they only make the shows because they want to sell you shit. I mean, it's marketing, right? So it's kind of how good can this show be for him or her
and even beyond that, I think that being a kid and actually being social, it's when you develop your interpersonal skills. So you have a generation of children that are just home all day playing video games, only talking to people on headsets.
Yeah,
but then they're not able to go into a room and meet people and vouch for themselves 100%. And speak up for themselves. And I saw for me, it's about that. It's about all the skills that a kid should be learning, that should be happening, that it's not just them looking at a screen. And then it also starts with us. I think as an adult, we have to be responsible and conscious about the amount of time that we spend looking at a screen with our children, looking at us look at a screen.
And that's the other thing. Whenever I see...
Monkey see, monkey do, right?
Whenever I see pictures of parents on their phones or their kids on their phone, I go, damn, you can't even be mad at the kid because the parent's doing it. And it's oh, right. And your kid has to have a phone at a certain age or they're behind. It's not even just they can't get in contact with you. That was our era. You just can't call your little friends. Wait till 7:00, all that kind of stuff. 9:00, actually. But now it's kind of no, that's a gateway to information. A lot of information I don't want him or her to have, but a lot of information also that could change their lives, and if they're using it the correct way, can be good.
Yeah, even the podcast space, it's it's how do I say it? Like I recently saw a 12-year-old listen to an LGBTQ podcast
Yeah.
with some topics that I was like,
And you can't really police this, really. And when I said,
well, you can't because they're talking about this at school.
Yeah, but
It's like I'm not a parent, but these are things that I sit
that's in
with.
California schools.
Damn, the schools are talking about it.
Yeah,
And so they're gonna look for content around it. And it's just so interesting. It's just
and my problem with that is I was having this conversation with a friend. I don't mind. There's a point of First off.
Yeah.
What is a teacher today?
I want to say that I'm pro LGBTQ.
I know
it's
what
more
you're saying.
about certain conversation that can be inappropriate
At a certain time and age. That's it.
And especially, the Spotifys and the YouTubes and there's so many. It's so easy to get access to content that's inappropriate.
Let's start here. If your child has a Spotify or an Apple account, we don't even have to start there. We can start with Get Rich or Die Trying. Your 10-year-old wants to listen to it. It has an explicit content square on it. They're listening and bumping that shit. And they're having a great time. It does not matter. There is no gate, so to speak. I know there's parental controls and blah, blah, but realistically, generally speaking, that your kid is smarter than you at a certain point. They're going to know how to get around it. They're listening to that. Same thing when it comes to, education is one thing. Understanding how people are. There's different kinds of people in this world. Listen, I don't want my kid to live in a vacuum where they think everyone in the world is just like me. No, buddy. You're 13% of this country, buddy. That's it. That's all. You know, everyone else looks like this. Some people do this. Some people do this. It's up to you. Freedom. That's what's great about America. But I can't have my 10-year-old or 9-year-old learning about people's sexual proclivities because why does that matter? Like, even when you tell a child.
That's how I felt about. Again, and I have a 13-year-old nephew, and similar thing. If he's listening to something that's inappropriate, it's like, damn, am I going to tell my sister something? He's not my kid, but is this really appropriate for him to listen? It's not, but it's like, why does it matter to listen to that and learn that right now?
Exactly. Because you can't. My thing is, you in my house, you ain't acting on it. And I mean that whether you're heterosexual or homosexual or bisexual. You're not acting on this, bro. Or lady, you're 10. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is not the time.
You're not having sex.
What does it mean? Maybe I'm gay. You can't be because you're not having sex. That's it. Maybe I'm heterosexual. Can't be that either. You know why? Because you're not having sex. So why is this a discussion yet? Now you walk in, you're 15, 16 years old. You're in high school.
I think high school makes sense.
That makes complete sense.
Because sex ed for me started in high school. I think it was an appropriate time.
Yes. Because you're getting
high school's
into
an appropriate time. 13, 14.
Yes.
Anything under that, I just think it's
programming.
It's programming.
Yeah. It's programming, and it's programming in a sense of, I always like to compare it to, let's compare it to things that are completely different, but that we wouldn't want our kids seeing. Hey, murders happen. People lose their parents early. We're gonna tell kids that. So you're gonna tell the same kid who believes in Santa Claus about sex. I don't think that doesn't quite make too much sense. And I just think when you compare it like that, you realize, oh right, like maybe I don't want my kids to know that there are mass shootings at the age of 8. Probably not the time.
No, not the time.
Not the time. Now, when he's in high school, going to college, he should be aware of these things. People can be crazy, But
I will say, George Floyd, that was a moment. My nephew at the time was maybe 10. Yeah. That was a tough moment. I just think because of the use of media, all these platforms that we are online, certain things we can't escape telling them. And so I will never forget my nephew, asking me more about Black Lives Matter, asking me more about racism, asking me why people are doing these things. And it was breaking my heart. We had, that whole Karen shit started in New York, let me tell you.
Okay.
I was livid.
Got you.
Central Park. I'll never forget that day.
Oh, that was okay.
Yes.
Yeah, with the lady with the dog, and she called on the.
She was walking her dog in an
Mm-hmm.
area that was meant for bird watching. And there was the person that she was harassing, which is a Harvard graduate,
Wow.
was the president of the Audubon Mural Project, an art mural project in Washington Heights that was created to bring awareness to the extinction of these birds. So I was very familiar with the program because I'm a woman who cares about the culture, follows leadership, especially if it's outside
The norm. Hell yeah.
it's outside the norm, right? They created it's pretty much an art installation, program around Washington Heights.
That's amazing.
One of my communities where we have, a large amount of Dominican people who care. Caribbean people, we care about birds.
Mm-hmm.
Like we grow up outside. We have so much nature in our islands. And so the news of her, infuriated me. And I had to sit with my nephew and explain to him what the Audubon Mural Project was, how this Black man is a Harvard graduate and he was still subjected to racism and the realities of, being a Black man in America.
Yeah. I mean,
And he was 10, and I had to sit and have this conversation with him, which was super heavy.
But I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, at some point, he'll see it too.
Right.
And I think that's one of those conversations. Even my parents, obviously have had it with me over the years, but it has to come because either way, you don't want to be blindsided by it. But at the same time, I will say I don't champion anyone who sits and stews in it. Some people do. That is why everything goes wrong. And you go, I can name 5 things right now you don't do. You know what I mean? To make your life better. That don't help, but you could be doing more shit. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that it's an extra block in your way. And it can always be used at different times depending on where you are in your journey. And it just is what it is because of the, foundation of what this country is built on and a lot of the world is built on. And so it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's nice that it came from a family member opposed to, being outside or being on the streets or being in a situation and understanding, like, even when you're young, I feel like I've had situations where I was in certain situations and you can't put your finger on why they're odd, but they're odd, and it's really not even you because you're a kid. Everything is, it's all the people around you, especially being on television, doing all that stuff at a young age, surrounded by white people, like, and not all of them in 96 are as nice as they probably should be. Not mean, but also, that energy barrier that like, okay, I'm here because this is a job thing, but like, I don't be around Black kids type deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's that energy. But, and then you had others. Great. Because it's different kinds of people. But yeah, it's it's always going to be there until, the world finally taps out. We go extinct and we start all over. Maybe we'll win this one. Imagine day one.
Day one.
Check it out. So what I'm thinking is, why don't we just ship some people over from starts all over again. It's fucking terrible.
No, I mean, I think, some of the biggest issues in the world, are here because of our obsession with capitalism.
100%.
There's enough money in the world to extinct poverty if the 1%ers wanted to.
Yeah. But you can't. That's how they make so much of their money.
They're selfish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's their logic. It's like, wait, but no, my company has to show growth every year, right? Or my stockholders are mad, right? So how can I get this done for the lowest amount of money? I'll figure that out year after year after year after year until, like, basically I'm the only person working at my own company. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. What is Amazon's employee list? gonna look like, or their employee numbers gonna look like in the next 15 years? They're gonna hire a lot more people to do other things, sure. But with the emergence of AI and other things, you're gonna be able to cut a lot of people out. And their factories are already autonomous in a lot of facets. Car companies, same thing. Unions, union wages, benefits. This sounds crazy. OpenAI says, you know what I mean? It's like,
I just saw one of like an article headline this morning that actors or film studios are suing AI companies for creating voiceovers with, like, I guess imitating actors' names with AI, and I'm like, there's gonna be a lot of lawsuits,
tons,
because it's such a new technology and it's not regulated yet, right? That's why we have these lawsuits. There will be some regulation, and so I think the dust hasn't settled yet. It's still in a space of huge skyrocket growth, skyrocket implementation of it. I just came from I was at an AI conference just last week, actually, called CogX, at the Fairmont Hotel here, and there's one today actually called AI on the Lot, happening today as we speak. So I've been paying attention and trying to keep up as much as I can. At Revolt right now, we just had an AI campaign for Black History Month.
All right, that's the one that won a Webby, right?
Yeah, that we just won a Webby. Yeah. Shout out to my team.
That's
Shout
amazing.
out to hashtag 6 zeros.
So what was that about? What was the whole AI campaign for that?
So at Revolt, we have an internal advertising agency called hashtag 6 zeros.
Okay.
Hashtag 6 zeros is a hex code for Black. And so that's the team that I sit with. Okay. Pretty amazing, creative badasses. And for Black History Month, our CEO kind of asks a lot of teams for ideas on what our Black History Month campaign would look like. And so all these teams kind of competed for the best concept, and we had the best concept. So here it is. So the idea was to tap into AI creators, like artists, to reimagine something or someone as a Black person. If you could turn a world or a person or something and turn it Black and make it Black, like, what would it be? And so we called it Imagine If. And every day in February, we released and published an image created by an AI artist that reimagined, the world, our Black world.
Right.
And so, we, placed, like, imagine if we had the Black Panthers at the White House, if they were running the White House. That was one of our images, that went viral.
That's sick.
Imagine if white people were slaves.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Imagine if the British monarchy was actually Black. Was actually because the slaves, took over the monarchy. So it was a really great way, an expansive way to, think beyond our current reality. Imagine if Atlantis, a Black Atlantis right now. Mm-hmm. Imagine Black AI robots that are in love. Right. And so literally these artists came up with all these amazing concepts, and we got an award for it because, one, it was innovative, centered around creators, right? We have this creator economy. We were able to put dollars back into the pockets of those AI artists, and we shine the spotlight on these AI artists.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
there's AI video artists too now. I mean, there's so much.
Oh yeah, no, that's the whole thing with. Have you seen OpenAI's? It's Sora. I think it's called Sora, or I think it's called Sora.
No, that the premium. I got the free account.
Oh no, listen, they have this. Tyler Perry saw this. He was building an $800 million studio, and he stopped.
Really?
This is the thing with the Hollywood scene. Yeah, I'm about to show you. This is the thing with Hollywood. Like, they kind of they don't want to pay all these people because people aren't watching movies the way that they used to. People aren't watching that stuff. They're on their phones, right? And that media is generally free as far as who's producing it, who's creating it. People are doing it for the platform, So how much are we going to keep pumping into a medium that's not giving me the return that whatever, that insane return they want for every film.
I think, how do I say this? Like, the streaming platforms aren't free. We're still paying for them,
Oh, yeah. Well, the proper streaming. But you're talking Netflix. I'm talking. Think how many hours people spend on Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now think how much time they spend on their phone, on Instagram. And that's all I'm saying.
That screen time.
That screen time's different. If I'm advertising, it makes more sense to advertise there than it is to advertise on any of these fucking TV shows.
Yeah.
I always say this, even as an actor, let's just be real. In today's times, how many actors' names do you know? You'll go watch their movies. You'll go see their things. Like, you might know more, obviously, because it's your world. But, like, most people don't know. No. They watch a ton of shows with a bunch of people they don't know. And they honestly don't even care a lot of times to look up afterwards. Once again, how much money can we keep pumping into this? That's why they keep making Marvel movies. That's why they keep you make the home run IPs, Barbies. You make things people must go. Star Wars. Must go sees.
But also things that are multi-generational. So I just I took my first screenwriting class this year.
Nice.
Shout out to me.
That's what's up.
At UCLA. I think a lot about TV and film, and really one day I can take my talents, my digital marketing skills and contribute to the film and TV space.
They need it.
They need people like me, absolutely.
No, 100%.
We need diverse thinking.
Yeah, they think one way, and it's just like the music industry until like streaming rocked them. Like, they think very old school, very conventional.
But they're also, remember, they're having that capital hat. They have that capitalism hat on. Right. And I'll explain myself that I learned at this class. The reason why, the Star Wars, the Barbies, these are legacy films. These are legacy IPs. Mm-hmm. These legacy IPs are multi-generational and nostalgic. So now you have the dad that has been watching Star Wars in the 70s, taking his kids, all his kids to see Star Wars. Right? And so they have that multi-generational thinking, but it's also easier to predict sales when you've put money into an IP that already exists and that has proven sales, right? Yeah. So there's already a sale history for Marvel, Star Wars, the Batmans, the Joker. How many fucking times are we going to see the same Joker movie?
Oh, listen, I know.
I'm literally like...
Listen, Spider-Man, I loved the Tobey
I love
Maguire.
that they made a Latino Spider-Man. I love that. I'm like, okay, yes.
Give
me another film, but now, like, give me some diversity in your casting.
And we can't keep doing the live action ones, though. Like, because I like even how they did, like, the spin-off with the Miles Morales. That's sick. But when we keep making... we've had how many Spider-Mans now? Like, Miles Morales is a different thing. These other guys are supposed to just be Spider-Man. It's just like, dude, I can't. But once again, like you said, if I know this many motherfuckers showed up for this Spider-Man, this many showed up for this one, I think I'd make another Spider-Man too.
Right. And here's the other gem that they look at, like fantasy, or they look at book sales, like specifically like in the fantasy space or in the action space. Sometimes even in the romance space, because certain books like Eat, Pray, Love was turned into a film. So that's what I learned at this class, which is why you need education 100%. In order to create the best strategies, right? If you have a, cult book reader following, then you can invest and put your dollars and get investors to make a film out of this book, because you already have an audience that's going to tune in.
100%.
And so the way that I see the future for wherever I go is so different now. I might have to find a book that I'm like, you know what? Let me go spin this and see if this is what I want to do.
Proof of concept is there.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you like, so I got this character. Day one, I got this character. He's a spider, but he's a man, and he swings webs. If that doesn't work, that's like a crazy. But when it becomes Spider-Man, it's great. But if you're Disney, you just buy it once it's worked.
Right.
Yeah. It's very true. Check this out. This is what our future will be.
This is Sora?
Ad, but then Sora. There we go. So that's the prompt.
I wish it said what year this was in. Usually, definitely 1800s, but it was a gold rush. Probably between 1860.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Did you ever watch Deadwood?
No.
Oh, incredible HBO show. And it's like all about like the gold rush and
There's a small town.
animation of small, round, fluffy creatures with big. So think of the Pixar type things you're gonna be able to do without animators. And that's where they're like,
wow.
you know, this is gonna be crazy.
This is AI too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is all AI, all of it. This is all
world.
Sora. So
Yeah.
everybody obviously can't use it yet, but you know, a guy like Tyler Perry sees this.
It's in beta.
Wait! I need just
Yeah.
call the guy because this is
Beautiful,
insane.
snowy Tokyo City is bustling. This is insane.
Insane.
That it's able to create worlds with characters.
And this is the worst it'll ever be. And that's the scary thought.
Yeah, it's only gonna get more.
A stop motion animation of a flower growing out of a windowsill.
Yeah, you won't be able to tell the difference.
Oh yeah. 3 years, 2-3 years, it's
Yeah.
gonna be out of here. And then think about video games. Video games are gonna be and then that's the other issue with these kinds of things, even when they make the laws, right? So how is that gonna work as far as like you're gonna kill people's residuals? So video games, they don't pay residuals. They make billions of dollars to sell that file that they make.
Mhm.
And then you'll never see a residual as an actor. Acting, obviously, residuals, all those kinds of things, SAG projects. Once you get to this, that saves them a ton of money on the back end.
And time.
And time. And then we can pay you for a day rate. Hey, man, come on through. We'll pay you, your rate for a day, $1,000. You'll say some words. They only need 3 seconds of your audio to clone your voice.
Right.
So now I have you just saying a bunch of words. Maybe I just record you while you talk to me and then boom. Or you just take this podcast I've been doing for the last 6 months and then you take all the words I've said and now you got Maestro's voice. And now I'm saying all kind of crazy shit in your movie for free. And then what will be the changes? So if you pitch it down a semitone or you do something to my voice, does that now not warrant? You see what I mean? Like,
So we'll be able to use people's voices and not cut them a check
possibly
without laws, without legal
law.
regulation.
And then what will those regulations be, and what will be the loopholes for said regulations?
Yeah, this is insane.
Insane. There was one where they
It's like a new language, because what I see is, yes, animators will lose some work, but I think that they'll actually make more money in less amount of time if they go the entrepreneurial route, or like,
feel you.
I
Yeah.
think that there are some positives to becoming an AI designer, or like some of these AI tools. It's obviously disruptive, and
well, I'm worried about, the only thing I'm worried about, like, I'm one of those people, I'm going to pivot however the industry goes. I don't worry about me because I know that I am capable and I will figure out how things, I should use this to my advantage like this. I am a pragmatic thinker. But for people who are like, I got this legacy job, don't fuck with my consistency, which I respect, it's going to be a problem because the same way barrier to entry, right? There was a time where if I wanted to record a song, well, I got to go get a studio space and I got to get an engineer and I
Right.
got to get now I know how to engineer and I can do it. Maybe not everybody can do that. But in the next 10 years, any kid who's making music is going to know how to make beats, engineer, do all that stuff. And AI is going to make that even easier. So then your barrier to entry is like the guy who was an actual animator. Yeah, cool, but I could prompt just like you, my friend. Or the kid who wasn't an animator is going to be able, because he gets it, to just prompt better than some old motherfucker who was nice on Photoshop. But that means nothing now.
Nothing.
And it's just
No
like,
one even uses that. I mean, people still use Photoshop,
Yeah,
but
but-
like Canva.
change but everybody I
Disrupting.
know who is a real designer or a real, I say I use Canva, they're like, no, I'll send the assets as I'm like, no, man, listen, Illustrator, all that shit, I get it, it does amazing things, cool, But the average person is trying to make. You remember the era? People like, man, I got this guy. I got to make my party flyer. Or we all had a little connect.
We all had a connect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that. Now I just go on Canva.
Right there.
Every
template
ready to go. So
simplified everything.
Where do we go? You know, there was some guy who was really great at knowing everything. Now there's Google. He can't even get his lies off no more. You know what I mean? Like it's a. I don't know.
I just think it's part of evolution, right? Like we've been here before in this exact moment of really, really big tech transformation, tech changes. The first time that I remember being here was during the Y2K. 1999. It is 1999 and everyone thinks the world is going to end. Computers are going to crash. Like, we're all in fear. Dot-com bubble. We're all in fear. But we made it through and we transitioned into, the World Wide Web.
We still needed people, though. That's the only caveat with this stuff now is it's like the auto industry, right?
There'll be jobs created to manage AI.
Agreed. And
so I think it's going to be a new department, just like social media was a new department. So the second time that we were here was when social media started. All the companies freaking out. Everybody's going on social media now. No one's watching TV. No one's listening to radio. So we got to develop advertising. We got to develop ads. And we got to develop how we're going to get on the YouTubes. And case in point, branded video.
Radio Man had to find another job.
Radio Man had to find another job.
He started a podcast. That's some real shit, though.
That is some real shit. And so the world adjusted and evolved with social. Sure. And so I believe that we're going through, it's not the same.
Yeah.
But a similar people, transition.
Those spots will be so coveted. That's the thing. Because even remember, like, social media. It had its boom. Oh, remember we saw all the videos, people working at Google and Twitter. Yeah. Every day I go get my latte. And then it was beautiful. AI started, Google was like, oh, we could lay off a smooth 30,000 of these motherfuckers, 60,000, something crazy. Yeah, we can do this.
So you think AI is part of the reason why we're experiencing these layoffs?
We can do so much. Like between just stuff like this and let's be real, ChatGPT, even the basic one, you could throw something in there, it's going to spit you back. I don't like that. Give me 20 more.
Have you used Gemini yet?
Gemini was the one that was making, literally when you were talking about the world of like, what if it was all black? That's what Gemini literally did. Did you see that?
No. So I use Gemini a lot.
So Gemini had this, remember when Google stock went down a whole lot recently? It was because they created this auto-generated photo thing.
It lasted for like a day or two and then it was gone.
Yeah. And you heard about it.
It was about Midjourney. I didn't hear about it, but I've been using it every day for the past few months.
It's been good.
It's been good, but I've been paying attention to the development because it's in beta. What I'm using these tools and also paying attention to all the fucking changes. Because like y'all not gonna get me.
Yeah, you're not gonna finesse
I'm gonna know exactly what's going on, and it's gonna be screenshotted.
Yeah, no.
So I've been comparing.
They were like, show me the American founding fathers, or that you'd be like, make a picture with the American founding fathers.
Like Midjourney. Literally, they took Midjourney and added it into Gemini.
Only theirs only made minorities. Only. So you would say founding fathers, give me a Nazi, and it'd be like an Asian dude in a Nazi uniform, and it's like, wait, hold on, like this is too far. Basically, so of course, the other side hated it because it was like it refused to make white people, which is hilarious. That's why when you're telling me about this AI project, I'm like, is it Gemini? That's what I was thinking, because it's. Actually, I
refused. I need to see this.
It refused to make white people. Like you could type in things that were crazy.
I think that was coded in there.
I wonder.
You're not gonna tell me.
Yeah, for sure.
That was coded in there. Hysterical.
Let me see.
And before Gemini, it was called something else. I forget the name of it.
It was doing shit like this. Google AI refused to make pixel white people. Every picture, give me a pope. That's the pope. It's wild. It's great. It's funny, but it's also like my thing is.
It's embarrassing. That comment was funny.
Oh, what is that?
The Furies comment. It's embarrassingly hard.
And so my thing is, look, that's cool, fun. But if you can make something that doesn't acknowledge that white people exist, I'm scared for what it can do to me.
Sounds like Black Planet.
Yeah.
Like Black Planet AI.
I haven't heard that name in so Black Planet was the we loved Black Planet for a minute.
Black Planet was popping. I was only on I didn't have an account, but I was only on Black Planet because I would work on marketing campaigns.
Right.
And Black Planet was one of our properties at the time.
That's
and then
funny.
when Solange dropped, forget her last album, she did it on Black Planet. She like made it relevant again. It was a few years ago.
Okay, well, I'm mad at it. It was March. Omar Wasau. Black Planet was launched by internet analyst Omar Wasau on September 1st, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so
And then it was
crazy
purchased by Radio 1 Inc. at some point. It was an interactive one. It should still be an interactive one property.
That's shout out to him, brother.
Yeah.
So something. He's black, right? Well, you better be black. Be very mad if he's not black.
Of course.
He's from Kenya, though. He's
Okay.
African.
Okay, he's African. He's African. We do like different things. He's mixed. Mixed bag.
Man, I thought we had one, though. I thought I was going to see like a brother who looked like Damon or some shit from Shark Tank. Like, hey.
As long as he got black in him.
Yeah.
But
as long as he acknowledges the black, there you go. That's a whole different caveat. What do you want to do as far as what is your next frontier in this space? I know you want to flip a book, flip a story, but what in the marketing space, what is your next frontier? What are the companies or the brands that you would love to work with? You know, what's your vision?
oh, so much. Yeah, so much. I have big dreams, big visions. I think a Hollywood reporter would be fun. I think I bring something really unique to those type of spaces. The Hollywood reporters, the varieties, the billboards, you know.
Right.
I think I can bring something really unique there. I also think that I bring something really unique to record labels and their film and TV departments because I already have all this experience in the branded content space. I can look at films and TV from a branded integration space to help them get money. I think that's where we're missing the mark. I think if we set up films with products and brands in mind, they're going to fund it, right? That's how you get the dollars. And so I'm able to do that naturally. I do that now, and so I think I could bring something unique to in the record label space. And I want to tell big stories. So some of the stories that I think about that God has given me are over 100 years old.
Right.
Are things that started over 100 years old. And when I can't sleep at night, I think about, and some of these things are, around my hometown of New York.
Okay.
Right. My community in Dykeman that has so much rich history that even people from Dykeman don't even know of the type of things and people that were there before. And so I have a lot of ancient stories. I have an obsession with before Hollywood we had Havana. Havana to me is the original Hollywood. Havana inspired a lot of the Hollywood now actually. Havana was the melting pot for films and TV in Latin America, and Cuba and Mexico were the two markets that had big TV.
Wow.
And so, yes.
That's
and
crazy.
So somehow I just have this old soul. And so there's stories about the pioneers of Hollywood and Havana that inspired what we see today that don't get credit. No one knows, right? There was this obsession with Cuba at the time, right? With the women, with the dancers, and we started seeing Chiquita Banana commercials, and it was white women emulating the Latina, the way that we move, And so when I've studied even advertising and the ways that it's been gentrified and it's taken from Latin America, I want to be able to make the story right.
No, I feel you.
and empower the next generation.
Yeah. You can't
And
know where
so-
you're going if you don't know where you've been.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I'm in the space of actively, thinking out loud about what's next. But so I do know that I want to work in film and TV. And I also eventually would love to run my own creative agency. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to
Sure.
work with brands. It's fun to help them connect with culture. It's really fun to be an expert and to be tapped in for your insights. And so, yeah, I see myself eventually being an entrepreneur is essentially what I'm
Right.
saying. And I see myself, getting my big bags consulting, because who says that I still can't work for any person that I've worked for, like Revolt, and be a consultant while I'm
Facts.
still,
Hell yeah.
and so I see a lot of people that are consultants, long-term consultants for companies that they were once a full-time employee. And now their
That's dope.
contracts look differently,
Yeah.
you know, but that bag is still there. You're not on as many Zoom calls.
Yeah. You don't have to
Milan calls on
micromanage as
Zoom.
much. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's the micromanaging of being in an infrastructure opposed to when you come in and consult. It's
And
just,
yeah.
oh, this is the vision. This is what we're doing. This details y'all can figure out, but this is how we're going to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's cool. So do you usually come with when you're working at different places, or even when you're consulting with different people, do you usually go in with the angle, or do they usually say, hey, this is the angle we want to play? What are some things we can do?
It varies.
Okay.
So it's like case by case. Obviously, in my 9 to 5, it comes through a brand brief. It comes through an advertising agency. But in the real life, it's usually someone that sees my work, that is impressed with my work. They want to get to know me. They build a relationship with me, and then eventually, when they're ready to drop some money, then I can kind of gauge where their needs are, and then I'll formulate my recommendation once I understand their needs.
Right.
From a psychographic space, understand that audience. Then I can make my recommendation on set, if it's a go-to-market strategy, if it's a branding, if it's creative strategy, if it's events, if it's, whatever, if it's web development, if it's your story.
It's so many angles. That's the crazy thing about now, even when you think about that. It's like, it's so crucial to have people like that because there's so many angles to think about. Like, it's not like before where it was like, okay, we just got to get the picture out in front of people.
Yeah.
Like, no, there are so many markets. There are so many, even the fact that there's so many platforms.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, well, certain things work on TikTok that don't work on Facebook, and things work on Facebook that don't work on Instagram, things work on Instagram that don't work on YouTube. Like,
Right. And then depending on your business, right, you'll have a B2B strategy and then a B2C, right?
okay.
So
what's
business
B2C?
to business. B2B is business to
Okay.
business,
And
which
then
is going to
business
be
to
your
business.
buyer, your investors. And B2C, business to consumers. And so that's not that makes marketing challenging, but to your point, like, you have to know your audience and you have to know who you're speaking to. And so your marketing materials are going to differ based on who's going to look at it.
Right, 100%.
Because you're going to speak to an investor in a very different way that you're going to speak to that viewer, to that fan.
Trillion%. Yeah. Damn, it's very true.
And so that's how I think.
See,
And so
learn some
I can
shit.
help
B2B.
I can help entrepreneurs on, and I'm consulting now, and so it's cool. I'm working on actively consulting more. I think, corporate lifestyle is great.
Yeah.
But for me, as I continue to evolve and I think of myself as a future mom, I'm like, when I become a mom, I want to be in a space where a corporate job is optional.
Right.
I
You
want to
control your time.
so
Yeah.
I can have more time with my children.
100%. So they're not on the fucking iPad.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
But
Exactly. So
listen, Ghislaine, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I know
no,
I
no,
feel
yeah.
like I'm kicking it with
Yeah,
you.
no,
Like,
that's the goal. No, thank you so much. I learned a lot, but also it's just fun talking shit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
well, thank you for having me.
Of course. So where can they find you if they want to find you, the people?
You can find me on social channels at Ghislane, GhiSlayin. You can find me also on GhislaneLeón.com and take a look at my personal projects on fearlessleon.com.
And that's where it's at. And we out.
We out.
Peace.
Yerp.